I mean, you have to have another creature though. You can't sack itself.
Right.
So I just don't, Dave. I just don't.
I like the card. Okay.
Yeah, it could see play.
Sure.
See play.
I guess amongst the other like overcosted demons that have been slowly trickling out every Magic set, they've replaced dragons with demons.
Yeah, dragons are playable, demons or whatever. Hey, Herald of Anguish to see him play now. So
yeah, finally, I guess.
God, are we really going to talk about this card?
I want to talk about it for a second because I want to tell people it's bad.
It's so bad.
Torment of Hailfire. It's Hailfire, by the way. I definitely put Hellfire down the first time, too.
Yeah. Hailfire.
It's a black X for a sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. The first thing I want to say is apparently I saw this in both our own Magic community and on other podcasts. Apparently people were confused by what X means here. X, if you pay 1, it's 1 time. It's not X plus 1. I don't know where people got that idea, but apparently they were confused. Don't be confused. So I will say the only redeeming quality, because this is another Punisher mechanic. We talked about this. This is a mechanic that has a card at rare, uncommon, and common. This, like, it's saying non-land permanent is, like, I guess better, but at the end of the day, if you're like, oh, I'm going to cast this for a ton against my opponent, well, I don't know why you do this. First off, at 3 mana, remember, this is Lava Spike. At 3 mana, this is literally Lava Spike. And as you say, but it scales. It sure does. It scales and doesn't have to affect the board unless, like, your opponent wants it to. Or you're like, well, I'm going to do it for 8 or 9. Okay, then play better cards if you're planning on doing
play
that.
Razakath for that mana.
Right? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, oh, as long as I cast it for, like, 6, 7, or 8, they'll die. It's like, well, 1, maybe they'll die. And 2, the fact that I have to say maybe should tell you this is bad.
This is bad. You should feel bad.
Your opponent will lose life down to the point that they can't lose life anymore. They'll discard cards so they can't do that anymore, and then they'll sack things, and then you'll have played a card for a lot of mana that doesn't affect the board, and you'll probably die in the crackback.
It's true. Hey, the one card in the Torment cycle is actually playable. It's the common. That's an instant speed, put 3 -1 counters, and that always happens. So it's a removal spell. And then there's like a decision they make. But at least that like, kills something.
If it just stopped there, put 3-1/-1 counters, it'd be sweet and limited, right?
Sure.
Like it's just like, it's just
that's
card.
fine.
So I feel like some people are excited by this. I understand. It makes me sad that this is the Bolas mechanic because Bolas knows better.
He does.
So, but hey, if you're excited by this card, that's fine. I don't want to whatever.
No, if you're excited by this card, then you're wrong.
If you're excited by this card, it's going to look great in your EDH decks.
Yeah, maybe. It's not good. It's not good. It's not anywhere near good enough for constructed.
No, not at all.
And don't do this because what will happen is you'll win like a game off of it because your opponent made bad decisions or you did have infinite mana and you'll see it was really good, but you'll recognize the amount of mana you paid. If you would have just like cast an X burn spell at your opponent for that mana, they also would have died. And I just want you to think about that. Like, you didn't get anywhere. It's so gross. Please don't. This is my PSA. Don't do it. Don't play it.
All right. And on that downer, that's black. Next up is red.
Hey, red starts out real sweet. You got this one, Dave.
All right. Best card for my cube, probably.
I think it might be the best card in the set.
That's not true.
It's not.
I mean, it's a good card.
All right. First up for red, we have a Braid, which is 1 in a red instant. Choose 1. Deals 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. Finally, got my Shatter.
You did it.
It's Shatter plus. So I think this is an interesting card because I think for its time in Standard alongside... I can't think of the card.
Harness Lightning?
Harness Lightning, yeah. I think it's definitely going to be competing with Harness Lightning. I don't think this is better at killing creatures, but the versatility might make it worth playing some number of them, in addition to Harness Lightning. So being able to kill artifacts, obviously, we have things like Heart of Kirin in the format, which is important to hit.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. I like this card a lot. And like I said, sweet cube card, because a lot of times you don't want to play like straight up shatters in your cube, but if it could also hit creatures,
right?
It's like that's fine. We
can make like that. Yeah. Yeah, no, this card's odd. Again, it will compete with Harness Lightning, which is unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? It's good to have more options, I think, and yeah, I'm glad it's at instant speed. I understand that they gave us a 3-mana Lightning Strike in this format, in this set, and it just upsets me like deeply, internally, and it's ridiculous. But a braid is fine. And it's a good thing they gave us this sweet answer to Aetherworks Smart. Oh well.
No, we already had that. We have the bird that can counter it.
Moving on. So Chandra's Defeat, I think, is next.
Yeah.
So that is 1 red for an instant. It says Chandra's Defeat deals 5 damage to target red creature or red planeswalker. If that permanent is a Chandra planeswalker, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card.
I like this one.
Yeah. This is another component into why I like a red base aggressive decks. Apparently, just get hated out. Literally, like 1 mana kill any red creature that you could ever possibly play,
including Glorybringer.
Glorybringer.
Maybe not playing that in your mono red aggressive deck, but
you could.
It could kill that all the same, and
it certainly can.
And interesting to note that the Chandras that we have in the format right now, they start out at 4 loyalty and tick up to 5.
Yep.
So if you can tag a Chandra in the first turn there, it's 1 mana, destroy your 6 mana or your 4 mana planeswalkers. So it's pretty good.
And hitting Glorybringers is not too shabby.
Yeah. So I think like the 1 mana like take care of a lot of creatures is great. Like if you kill a Chandra with this and get to like rummage, like that's fine. But it does seem like a fairly minor upside. But whatever, it's just an upside.
Yeah, it can kill also. I guess we didn't even talk about this with some of the other ones, but some of the gold creatures. So
yeah,
things like Whirler Virtuoso. Now they can still make tokens or whatever, but sometimes you want to get that off the board, or even with the Scarab God, not the Scarab God.
For a turn.
Yeah, but still, like it's a good tempo play.
Sure.
It the Scorpion God? That's the red one.
There's 2 of them that are red, right?
Yeah, the Locust
Scorpion
God
and the Locust God.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
And also this has the sweet flavor text that we all agree with. Is fire? Is that your only trick, Chandra? We know, Bullis. We've been talking about it for a long time.
But see, like then, like if they're just gonna give her like a bunch of other crappy red tricks that they're gonna like say like the next Chandra ultimate is you take an extra turn and then like you lose after that and it's gonna be the worst Chandra.
To be fair, if that Chandra also came with the lava whatever where you exile X cards your library, you can cast those until the end of your next turn, take an extra turn, you die at that turn. That'd be a fun way to go.
It certainly would. Next card?
It's Dave's. I don't want to get out of order.
Chaos Maw. This one might be borderline, but it's costs 5 red for a 6/6 Hellion. When it enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to each other creature. So this is similar to Crater Hellion, which was a 6 mana 6/6 that dealt 4 to every other creature.
It had Echo.
So potentially a sweet reanimate target, for standard. Not sure about modern as much, but
why is everything a reanimate target for Dave? When, like,
7.
It's like there's no, but like what reanimation spell?
Liliana.
Sure, your 5 mana planeswalker.
Yeah. Kill everything else.
So you have what? How many Lilianas can you possibly play in a deck?
Yeah,
to be fair,
play 4.
You can play 4.
To be fair,
what else?
Yeah, that's a weird question.
Yeah, to be fair, this does seem sweet against that monument deck, even though they could just
everything. I don't know if you're getting I don't know if you're getting the message, but we've talked about like several cards that are really good against any creature based deck.
I think like 7 mana is a lot, but a 6/6 that also just like happens to kill most of your opponent's board is good and consistently has been good. So I know the mana is the issue, but you can get there. And like this card's gonna be a beating, like consistently a beating. Let alone reanimation stuff. Yes, possibly reanimation target is what it could be at some point. I mean, you think you have to evaluate every card like that, right? But I think like just casting this card is good.
Yeah, I mean 7 isn't that hard to get to. I mean, it is a little bit slow, but I mean, you could even play in like a ramp deck, ramp style strategy. So
a lot of the ramp cards we have currently in standard aren't creature based.
No, they're all fairly bad, but yeah.
I mean, but like, if this is your stabilizer to like, get to cast your next big spell, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's important that it's a big thing that also, like I said, stabilizes the board.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think this is like actively better than something like. Now, granted, it's not seeing a lot of play right now, but like in standard, this is better than World Breaker at 7.
Yeah. Unless your World Breaker is flashing back your Kozilek's return.
Yeah, maybe. But we won't have access to either of those things pretty soon. So
No, and you also probably won't have a lot of reason to play like a ramp deck. And
that's not true. That's a ramp deck. Like that's people play ramp decks because they want to play ramp decks.
I mean, ramp deck hasn't been relevant at all in this standard format as it stands.
Okay, great.
Before, like,
Hey, it's a whole new world.
Wait, hold on here. Didn't a bunch of the Marvel decks also play like Nissa's Renewal and like Shrine of the Forsaken Gods so they could cast
their Ulamog?
their logs?
Sure,
But yeah, there was no ramp strategies that were viable.
I mean that is a plan B to a non-ramp deck.
Well, that's weird.
Hey,
The plan B was wow, that's weird.
We do have a sweet ramp spell in this set
that
we
card
haven't
sweet?
We haven't gotten to
The
it
card
yet.
is sweet. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
good for standard, but the card is sweet.
It doesn't impress
We'll
me.
get to that.
All right. Next is Earthshaker Kenra, which this is probably is this the best of this effect? I think it is.
Sure.
I think it's the most constructive playable, at least for standard. That's a high praise. I hate to tell you. Red and a generic for creature Jackal Warrior. It's a 2/1 with haste. When Earthshaker Kenra enters the battlefield, target creature with power less than or equal to it cannot block this turn, and it has Eternalize for 6. Now I'll say this one because haste and the ability to, just get a guy like can't block the turn it comes into play. You can like curve this with like your on crop crusher or your crasher. Is it crasher as well if you wanted to? But I think like while 6 mana is a ton for Eternalize, the red deck that like floods. This is a sweet card to get back because you spend your turn tapping out for your 4/4, but it has haste and it causes them not to be able to block. So it's the most relevant, I think, of the Eternalized cards.
I definitely thought this made it so that all creatures with power less couldn't block.
Oh no, that'd be a very good
This is
card.
actually much worse than what I thought it was.
No, I think it's like a generic red guy, but this like again, I don't think this is a rare effect. I don't think like any of these cards have rare effects. Maybe the blue one because it says draw cards. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Mono Red's in a tough spot right now, and like Morgan said, there's a lot of cards.
It's not getting better. It's not getting better.
But
I don't know.
I think if this was take out the rarity of this, take out the Eternalize.
Yeah.
If this is a 2/1 that just said Falter and had haste,
Well,
and there was
faults are a creature.
Falter or creature, sure, those creatures have seen play in the past.
Yeah.
So that alone, I think, makes it constructive playable. I don't think it's great.
In a vacuum, yes.
Yeah, whether or not that style of deck is viable is another
It's
thing.
something we don't
But yeah,
know.
sure.
It probably isn't.
So the reason I made sure we stayed in turn order is because I looked ahead to see where we were in turn order. Dave gets the next one, and this is
Oh my
legitimate.
God.
So
I'm sorry,
Hey,
Dave.
it's
This is like the
Hazoret's-
worst one.
Hazoret's Undying
it's
Fury.
not the worst one, I promise. We talked about the life gain one.
All right, Hazoret's Undying Fury.
At least you always gain life from it. This game, you could just whiff.
This one definitely has the best art of all of them.
Yeah.
It's got like the shadow of the scorpion guy, looming.
So that shadow looks like one of two things. Just it either looks like one Hazard's about to die to Earthworm Jim, right?
Do you see a duck? I see a duck.
Well, there's also I'm trying to remember what this is from,
Quack,
but there's
quack.
like I'm trying to remember what show it was, but essentially it was a guy whose head was a sock puppet. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but it also looks like that could be this too.
I just see a duck now. That's all I see. Where the stinger is not just a duck head. I'm black.
But I like Earthworm Jim a little better here though too. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where's Princess What's Her Face?
All right. So this costs 4 red. It's a sorcery, and just what we needed, guys. Shuffle your library, then exile the top 4 cards. You may cast any number of non-land cards. You may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them without paying their mana cost. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. So this is like a bad
Mind's Desire.
collected company / Mind's Desire / Marvel that like they made sure not to make it so that you could chain these together.
So it's just like a bad card. Gotcha.
Yeah, we talked about the whole cycle. We had to at least mention it, but it should be pointed out this card is constructed in a way so that you can't hit additional copies off of it.
yeah, that'd be gross.
So To play this card, you need to build a deck that runs this card while also never wanting to hit this card off of those 4 cards. Plus, you don't want to hit lands, because if you were just hit, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 lands off of this, you probably just lose on the spot.
Yeah. Congratulations, you did it.
Because now you spent 12 mana to do that.
You cast a Glorybringer, best case scenario, and your lands don't untap next turn.
It just doesn't make sense to me. One, how far away this effect is from any of the other ones. Like, it's so weird. But 2, like, when is this good?
Never.
Why is it a card then? And don't tell me not all rares could be good. Most of them from this set aren't. They don't sniff good. All right? There's like a pantheon of good. They're not getting there. They died in the first trial. I don't get it. Hazoret deserves more than this.
Nah.
She does.
Flamethrower. Flamethrower.
Flamethrower?
Flamethrower.
She got that flame flowing. I have to mention this in the card because we're talking about the cycle. We can move on quickly, but
Card's
why?
bad. Card's bad. Makes me sad. It's trash.
Card's bad. Makes you sad. It's trash. Got a rash.
No, please don't.
You're just making me get
Flame
all
flowing. Oh man, I got Hour of Devastation. I didn't look that far ahead. Our next card's a good card.
It is.
Hour of Devastation is a 3 generic red sorcery. All creatures lose indestructible until end of turn. Hour of Devastation deals 5 damage to each creature and each non-bolus planeswalker. So red color that also traditionally has problems dealing with planeswalkers, like the outside of burn directly to the face. Like they don't really have they don't have like things that interact very well with planeswalkers. We've seen a little bit of push in recent years. Like obviously we have Chandra's Defeat. We had something flames in Oath of the Gatewatch.
This one that dealt like 5 to a planeswalker
or a creature, and you had to return a land. I played at my sideboard.
Hungry Flames.
Hungry Flames? Maybe that was it. Yeah. They were so hungry. So like this card, first off, just being a sweeper for planeswalkers is pretty gross for red. Let alone the fact that it kills almost everything in standard, including things like Selfless Spirits and Avacens. Because I don't know if you know this, there's a lot of random ways to get indestructible in this format. Is that Hungry Flames?
No, that's the Aether Revolt one.
That's all right. I'll think about it. So this card is definitely very good. Obviously, also saying non-bolus planeswalker like leads you to like be like this is the card you play in your deck that wants to hard cast Nicol Bolas as well, because you can play this to ramp up to it, or you can resolve Nicol Bolas, and when Nicol Bolas is about to get tacked to death, where it's like they put it to like 1 or 2 loyalty, or like haha, gotcha.
Devour in Flames.
Devour in Flames. That's the one. So
they were hungry, so then they devoured.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they're all food based for essentially
Everything.
Yeah.
So
Delicious flames.
but yeah, this card is sweet. The art is sweet. Like this is probably I think forget Hail of or Hour of Tarfire.
Torment of Hailfire.
This card Nicol Bolas looks actually terrifying, like ominous in this picture.
Yeah.
So
Would one say badass even?
Yeah.
I appreciate what you did there, Dave.
Yeah, this card's good. I think it's probably one of the best rares in the set for sure, if not the best rare.
I would argue for best rare.
This card will see play.
Best card, honestly. I think it's best card.
Yeah. Pick up your play sets. This is like what has me down a lot in regards to like viability of like aggressive decks. In a lot of ways, shape, or forms. Not saying that they can't be built or can't be played, but like. A lot of colors get sweepers in the set, like just like 3 out of the 5.
Yeah, when all the hours are like essentially plays off of like the plagues, like the biblical plagues in Egypt, like yeah, you're gonna have a lot of wrath effects.
Right. So
legit, and I mean like actual wrath of God effects.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So yeah, this card's good, and it'll wreck your day. So just make sure you know that it exists. So.
Is this like Nicol Bolas' self-titled album? It's like
is this a new hot mixtape that's gonna drop?
Yeah, it's just Hour of Devastation.
Yep.
I guess not self-titled album, but like the title track.
Yeah.
You would call it.
Yeah, the name. We already figured out the name of the album. It's Flame Flowing.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Imminent Doom. No.
Please,
I can't believe
I would hate you forever if you made me talk about that card.
So the most amusing thing about this next card is the text where it has the creature type.
Yeah, I know.
This is Neheb the Eternal, cost 3 red. It's a legendary creature zombie minotaur warrior, and they had to make the text extra small to fit all that in there. It is a 4/6 with afflict 3, and also has the ability of, at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, add red to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. So this, to me, is the classic, like, oh yeah, this is a pretty cool card that is kind of a trap, and you'll have all these, you have all these dreams of like, oh man, I'm gonna like cast this, and then I'm gonna do these other things, and I'm gonna cast all these things. It's like, that's not really how it's gonna play out, man. You're gonna have a 4/6.
You wanted it like that. But
yeah, you're gonna have a 4/6, and like maybe it'll add like a mana, and then you'll be like, oh, I can cast this 2-drop, I guess, and cool.
So I don't know why Neheb like lost the color in like eternalizing himself.
He's
he
not
didn't.
quite.
He becomes a black, right? Or no, he doesn't have eternalize. Never mind. You said eternalize himself, but I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
you're
like,
right. I don't know. I have no idea. He should have actually just become black, right?
yeah, but he gave red.
I don't know.
This card
Don't,
plays-
he's
don't
not-
question the flavor. It's
This
so
card
bad.
flavor-
He's
doesn't
not,
make
he's
any
not
sense.
as evil anymore.
Hey,
he's just more
so you
angry.
know, this is what glory looks like, according to Nicol Bolas. It's only red. So
Now this is glory.
now this is pod racing. So, and by that I mean, of course, you attack. They take 4. You add 4 red to your mana pool, and then you cast Torment of Hailfire.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's how you ramp up.
You did it. You
Yeah.
figured it out. Why is this a red mythic, man? I'm tired of this. I'm tired
Well, I
of
will
this.
say, I just body wise, like 5 mana 4/6. Like if you find what you want to do with this, this is a tough creature to kill. Red doesn't normally get that kind of like body for a 5 mana. Like notice this creature, and I know it's just saying, but it also survives Hour of Devastation, and I'm sure that's purposeful. It's very purposeful that it does.
Yeah.
So
So, like, I get what it's trying to do. It's like the fact that it has afflict. So if you get to attack with this, they're either going to take 4 damage off of the creature, or they're going to lose 3 life from the afflict.
Right.
So you're getting at least 3 mana. It's like, okay, that's cool. But in practice, I don't really see it playing out.
So, from a design perspective, you cast this on 5. You get to attack with the next turn. Your opponent is going to ostensibly lose at least 3 life, and then you can cast Nicol Bolas off of it. So, the Neheb, the glory that is chosen by Nicol Bolas, helps then cast Nicol Bolas ahead of time. I'm not saying that's like good. I'm just telling you, like, there is a synergy with these cards, at least how they're designed. Because in a Bolas themed world, everything should work for him, and it kind of does. Survives his hour, helps cast him. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying we'll see a ton of play. I don't know where the red mana dump is as of yet. I don't think there is one, but play this with Kargan Dragonlord though, man.
Oh man, if only we had the shaman, the dragon speaker,
There you
whatever.
go.
Dragon whisperer, something like that.
I mean, I guess like one cool thing about it is itself, it doesn't have to attack, so you can have a board presence already, play this, attack, deal some damage, and then follow up and get some extra mana on your second main.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not that excited about this card.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, fair enough. Next up, we have Wildfire Eternal, which is 3 generic and a red for a creature zombie jackal cleric, which is a 1/4. This has afflict 4. Whenever Wildfire Eternal attacks and isn't blocked, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this actually was one of the first cards we had revealed for us. This is the highest afflict in the entire set. And we said this is going to be defined by what spells are around it, and I don't see the spells.
Nope. Card's garbage.
So I agree. The card is probably garbage. It may see a little bit of cutesy fringe play in standard, but I don't see what the payoff to this card is. I don't see what you're doing that makes this card worth it, because 4 mana is so much for this. Like,
Yep.
And the way the standard works with cards in hand, like, and what cards are even good right now, like, you're probably fine just letting them cast the free spell, like, the most of the time. So, awkward, but that's where we're at.
And again, with this ability too, it almost is like a Punisher mechanic, because your opponent can just be like, you know what, I'm already ahead. I don't want you to do some crazy thing. I'll just take the 4. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just block it. Maybe.
And then you're staring at your card that you needed to cast.
Right.
I think like most of the time what's going to happen though is you're going to find yourself having this card in play, and the few times that even like can start attacking, you don't have anything to do with it. And your opponent's going to figure that out real quick. So, like I said, I needed a cruel ultimatum to make me really get excited about this, and I should have known this set couldn't have had that card.
Oh no!
And like half the spells we've had in this effect, set, as Morgan already mentioned, are like wrath effects that kill this creature. So, ugh. All right, so Red got one incredibly good card.
Yeah, good job, Red.
Two. I'm sorry. The Braid is great.
Sure.
I'd walk away from.
I wouldn't say
Braid.
incredibly good on that one, but it's good.
Red, one day you'll be aggressive again. One day. One day they'll understand, like, hey, they gave blue. Hey, I guess they can only make blue or red good at one point in time, and red had its time, and now it's blue's turn, and then one day red will be good again.
As long as green's good forever, I'm happy.
Yeah, apparently, always.
Sorry, I got a little sick saying that.
Yeah.
So green, first up is Beneath the Sands.
It's a whole new world. Oh, that's
I thought I went with more of a Under the Boardwalk.
beneath the sand where there is no sea.
All right. Beneath the Sands is a 2 and a green sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, shuffle your library. And it also has cycling for 2 generic. So it's like half of Kodama's reach. But you can also cycle it. So I guess if you've already ramped up to whatever you're doing, you can cycle it and draw a card later in the game.
I mean, so you do have Spring to Mind already in Standard, which is seeing some play. There was a really wonky 4-color list in one of the Standard Classic. I don't think we talked about. They had like Spring to Mind in it. It was card casting Ulamog. I think it was doing weird things.
Was that Aliantrazi by any chance?
It wasn't actually.
Oh, okay.
But I think like this card, like this effect is certainly playable, but the cycling's a nice touch on it. Like Spring to Mind is probably better if you're playing blue-green, but like this is the kind of card where early in the game you want to ramp into your threats, and late in the game you want to cycle it to draw threats. So again, maybe it doesn't see play, but it is, if you're not going to get actual rampant growth, this feels pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting actual rampant growth anymore.
You have Ruin in your wake, right? Or Ruin in their wake?
Not actual rampant growth.
So close. No?
Not really.
Fair enough.
It wants to be close.
This card's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but it's there. All right, next up we have another land card. We have another Hour, actually, which is pretty awful. I mean, sweet. Hour of Promise is 4 generic and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle your library. Then, if you control 3 or more deserts, create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So, you might hear this card and be like, well, I mean, I'll just play Explosive Vegetation, it costs 4 mana, and you're right, it's better, except for any lands. 5 mana to put any lands into play. It has the desert clause.
Is that like the Santa Claus?
I knew that joke was going to get made as soon as I said it.
It's too easy.
Anyways, but like you already have to have a desert in play and then find 2 deserts off of this. So I don't know how often that's happening in any format. I'll even say EDH seems tough.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you could already have 3 deserts in play when you cast this, and then get 2 non-deserts.
You sure could.
Yep.
Sounds like your mana base is trash.
No, I think this card is good enough on its own, even without the
Yeah, I agree with that. In Standard, I don't know if it's doing enough, but we have man lands, we have a lot of really powerful utility lands, and in other formats, and especially EDH, any 2 lands is a lot of different lands. Now, granted, it's already been mentioned that in Modern and Legacy, for 1 more mana, you get Primeval Titan, which...
Yeah, for 1 more mana, you get a 6/6 trample body with a repeatable effect every time it attacks. But, yeah.
But in Standard, it could be interesting. Like, this is a fine ramp spell that also finds some utility. Maybe gets you zombies. Possibly. I know Morgan's going to make zombies. You look so sad now.
The more we talk about the set, the more sad it makes me.
I think that's more of like how broken Primeval Titan is versus how this.
I would say this feels appropriately costed.
Yeah. Like if you compare it to Explosive Vegetation, it's like, okay, well, this can get any land, so it makes sense that it would be 1 more mana.
I do
like, that actually makes sense.
That this is a green card with a blue-red deity in it that makes black zombies. What are you doing, Green?
Where's the white part of it?
It's in there somewhere. The Heckma is
You
getting
search
destroyed.
for planes.
You get a plains in like the white desert.
Yeah, clearly. I don't know. This card's fine. It is also fine. I miss the 2, 4, 6 ramp spells, man. Like two to ramp, then 4 to ramp, then 6. I miss those.
It is awkward that in recent times we've had both 4 and 6, but like their math is just done earlier. It's like, well, actually though, it can't be 2. And it's like, but
Yeah, now we're on like a 3 to 5 to 7.
do you remember Farseek mana bases with Shocklands?
Yeah. Do you remember Solemn Simulacrum?
Yeah, both times.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We can't have nice things anymore, man.
Now you just made me think of Solemn, and now I'm going to talk more about Hour of Devastation. I
Yep.
guess.
Well, life goes on, man.
Hey, the obla-dee, obla-da.
Oh, hey, it's the next card. Life goes on.
Yeah.
Cost a single green for an instant. You gain 4 life, and then if a creature died this turn, you gain 8 life instead. Whee! No, I mean this is I think going to be potentially a modern sideboard card against burn.
Yeah, you've already seen
Finn.
yeah, you've seen Feed the Clan be a sideboard card.
Feed the Clan, and then this is the white landfall card. I can't think of the name of it. That you gain.
Is it Rest for the Weary?
Rest of the weary,
Yeah.
you gain 4, and then if
Why?
you
Why
landfall,
can't I know anything relevant?
Because there is no rest for the weary. Money doesn't grow on trees. Yeah, so I also mentioned this card is in this set, and for a single mana, you can pretty easily gain 8 life, and Oketra's Last Mercy is a rare. I just want to point that out. If you want to know how good life
Hey,
gain
and when you
is,
cast this, your lands untap the next turn.
it's an instant. You can just cast at the end of turn and still untap your lands and just be way ahead.
Yeah, it was just mind blowing. So I will say that this card is probably harder to enable the 8 gain just compared to like Feed the Clan. In the decks the Feed the Clan was played in, which were typically like Tarmogoyf decks. So like that is a little bit more difficult.
that's fair, but it doesn't have to be your creature. Like
I
you
understand.
could kill their Swiss
Modern
Bear
is a
or
format where things get exiled a lot, which was, I was sort of I agree
Yeah.
with that. But I think the 1 mana versus 2 is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's kind of the trade off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this card, especially sideboard modern for burn. Yep, that's where it is. That's where it goes.
All right, you guys want to talk about Majestic Mariachi?
That's not.
That's not on a list.
I know.
We're not talking
I just
about
like that's all I can see when I read that card.
Here,
so.
Majestic Mariarch. You remember Audric from Shadows of Innistrad? Hey, look, it's Audric.
He's from like M.
But he's from
13 or
he's saying it's from the plane. It's from
okay.
it's from Origins.
Sure.
What that Audric is?
Yeah. Oh no, is there an Audric in Standard currently?
Yes, in Shadows.
What does that Audric do?
This doesn't it?
I thought that Audric was in Origins.
No,
Hold
it's
on,
in like M12 or
He's definitely from Innistrad.
whatever.
Hold on, we're gonna find out.
It's not good.
Yes, it's this Audric. Audric, the Lunarch's Marshal. At the beginning of each combat, a creature you gave
I
first
thought it was
strike.
in Origins.
No, it's in Shadows. This card already exists. It's this guy with the sword, and he's looking at it going like,
Yeah.
that's a good sword.
All right, that is.
Oh, whatever.
Well,
Anyway, this card's bad.
yeah. I like how the art for that card though has fake wings, like you can see through them. It's like you're a phony.
I mean, this he can't even get Skulk, man, and like at least like Audric gets Skulk.
All right. Next actual card though is Nissa's Defeat, which is 2 generic and a green for a sorcery. Destroy target forest, green enchantment, or green planeswalker. If that permanent was a Nissa planeswalker, draw a card. And we mentioned this one's a little more awkward than the other ones. Not being able to hit a creature is important. Stone Rain though is a card we haven't seen in a long time, and this is Stone Rain for forests, which is kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, and I mean we have dual lands, like actual dual lands, So
I think it's weird though that we have multiple dual lands,
Yes.
which is weird.
Shelton,
I do
yeah.
think this is weird though. That one green enchantment, it destroys Sandworm Convergence.
destroys Oath of Nissa.
Yep,
You did.
but the Nissas you
You
can
don't get to
destroy
draw a
with this
card after
card.
that, though.
You're not actually getting a large mana advantage compared to the other ones.
You have
You have 3
3
mana
mana,
Nissa
5 mana.
or base 3 mana Nissa. Because it's this one that with X scales but starts at 3.
Yeah, and you still have 5 mana Nissa.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh, whatever. I guess he gets him on that one. There's so many Nisses.
Yeah, too many Nisses.
There's technically another
Yeah,
one.
you
then.
kill like the 7-mana Nissa.
There's going to be
whatever.
another one. There's going to be 5 Nisses in Standard. You have the 2 Planeswalker deck ones.
Yeah.
You have
The blue-green one.
blue-green one, and then you have 2 green ones.
Yep.
Oh, remember like how the Gatewatch was a cool idea, and they just were like, "Oh, I guess you want like 5 Nisses." No, stop it. I'm glad you got the message.
All right. Morgan, you could take the next one.
Pride Sovereign.
Yeah.
My little kitty friend. Pride Sovereign, 2 generic and a green for a 2/2 creature cat. Pride Sovereign gets +1/+1 for each other cat you control, and you can pay white and tap it and exert Pride Sovereign and create 2 1/1 white cat tokens with lifelink. This is a cat creature type, and it's good, so I like it.
You also mentioned the art is great because it's a big cat calling the little cats.
Yeah, he's just like, look at all my cat friends.
Where my cat's at.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a big cat and it makes little cats, and little cats make him bigger. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, I like this card.
I like the fact that the activated ability makes 2 tokens.
Yep.
We usually don't get that. Usually it's
I
one
use it
at
to
a
exert,
time.
so
Yeah.
but I agree with you. It's also pretty good because like it works pretty well with that the sovereign there, the Regal Caracal,
Yeah, the Regal Caracal. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Lots of cats.
the king, if you will.
So again, for my tribal cat deck and standard that I will be building, this guy's a mainstay. He's a 4 of. For everything else, probably like not good enough, but he's good enough for me.
All right. Okay. I got a cool card.
Before you get to that, the art on Rampaging Hippo, disturbing.
Yeah, hippos' mouths don't look like that.
Not at all.
It looks like it has fingers coming out of its mouth. I don't like it.
All right, continue with your good card.
All right. Next card, Ramunap Excavator. Costs 2 and a green for a 2/3 Naga Cleric. And it says, you may play land cards from your graveyard. So this is a... I can always forget the name of that card.
Crucible of Worlds.
Crucible of Worlds on a stick. I think this is going to be more of a modern card than a standard card. And I definitely could see some of the green company-style decks, possibly with Horde of Calling, wanting this as a tutor target. As a way to...
I mean, this is another way that you can just like ghost quarter people out of the game too for like the green, white, death, and taxes.
Yep. Yeah, you can get back your ghost quarters, your... what's the land that you draws your card? Horizon Canopies.
Yep.
You can bring back. So it's a nice little value creature. Doesn't have that many applications in standard. I mean, you have your Evolving Wilds.
Cycling lands.
Your cycling lands, yeah. And some of the deserts that I guess we'll get to later as a way that you can do it, but not as many applications.
Yeah.
But
A fun fact: Horizon Canopy, most expensive card in Modern.
Really?
Yep,
Wow.
more expensive than Tarmogoyf.
Wow.
Yeah, fun fact.
Okay. That wasn't very fun.
yeah.
Okay,
there's
unfun fact.
Nothing fun about that.
Get wrecked.
All right. Next up, we'll talk about a really average creature. 3 generic and a green for Ramunap Hydra. It's a 3/3 creature snake hydra. It has vigilance, reach, and trample. So it's really, really tall, really, really patient, but also gets angry and tramples. So you'd figure it out.
I think that you added this to the set just so Dave had to talk about the last stand.
No, so Dave and I actually... No, it's actually hilarious.
It is, 'cause it's
I
the
know.
next
No,
card.
it's funny. It wouldn't have worked out, but he gave you a card to read.
It did.
So he did it himself.
Get wrecked,
No,
nerd.
we talked about this whole in the car, and we added this one here. So, Round of Hydra gets +1/+1 as long as you control a desert, and another +1/+1 as long as there's a desert in your graveyard. So we have the desert sub theme there. I actively argued against this card and said it wasn't as good as half the cards I've already printed as 4-mana 5/5s, including the Deadbridge Goliath from Return to Ravnica, which I finally remember the name of after our conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a 5/5 creature with reach, vigilance, and trample, and that sounds cool. Sometimes you played a hill giant. And in standard, you have to work pretty hard to get a 5/5.
So I think that you are correct, but maybe there's like a mono green desert deck.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. That would be my only argument for it. That maybe there's a deck
But,
that
like-
wants it.
I think this is closer to what's the creature that has vigilance and trample. That's like you can make it a 6/6. It's like however many colors you pay to cast it.
Are you talking about Woodland Wanderer?
Yeah. That was a card that people were like, "Oh yeah, like this could be."
Yeah, we tried really hard to make a play, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's still.
Trust me, we tried to make
still in standard, right?
Yes,
it is.
Oh yeah,
we tried to make Woodland Wanderer happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a lot like fetch.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this card is very good. Because like we have the Hydra already in Amonkhet that if you don't have to work very hard, you could make a 6/6 with trample on turn 4.
Yeah.
And that seems like it's easier to do than make this a 5/5. So sorry guys.
Yep. All right, fine. Fine. Let's do the last one here. Ronus's
You definitely almost said Roanoke's last stand, which is hilarious.
Roanoke's last stand. Green sorcery. Create a 5/4 green snake creature token. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. I guess the cool thing about this is you could potentially cast 2 in the same turn, and then you still only have the next turn that you don't untap. So
Sure.
It's like you get value somehow.
This is a very good creature in turn 2. Like the kind of creature that like you're probably fine just like your next turn just playing a land and attacking for 5. After that, well, not so good.
2 mana 5/4, it's pretty unheard of.
It's called Tarmogoyf, only in reverse. Yeah, I think on turn 2 this card's very, very good. It's awkward because like Unsummon just got printed. It's getting printed in the same set. So if it was really good, you just like unsummon it, and that's unfortunate. Your land's on untap. But this one feels close to playable, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I wish I knew. I wish I could give a better answer. I don't know what that means. What does close to playable mean in this set?
That's probably not good enough for standard.
All right, fair enough. Well, good job, Dave. Thank you for doing all of the last ones.
The crappy don't untap your lands. Right. Cool.
All right, let's go ahead and call the zoo because their animals are getting out. No, it's Uncage the Menagerie. This is X green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to X creature cards with different names that each have converted mana cost X. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. I want to say I tried to not have this card on the list, but I was talked into it as we discussed it on the way back. In standard, it might be a little tougher to pull off, but this is the kind of card that, as it was pointed out to me, it's kind of easy to break. And even in like modern, X equaling 3 and getting 3 like cards that can combo off together is not unheard of, and it's probably pretty good. So, is it better than Company? Is it better than I can't say Green Sun Zenith because that's banned, but is it better than Genesis Wave? Like I don't know, but it's certainly playable.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fighting for slots with those types of cards. This reminds me a lot of what was the card? It was like black white hybrid with X, and it's like you return all creatures with converted mana cost X. You know what I'm talking about? It was in some wonky.
Oh
combo
yeah.
deck.
It was in because it was in Gatecrash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm
what you're talking about. I remember the art. I cannot remember the name of it.
Yeah. It reminds me of that, where it's like that even that card was like, oh, that's like so narrow, but like somebody out there will find some combination where like X equals whatever, and then they'll go get some combo. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ultimately be good enough, but I don't think we should just straight up overlook it because there might be some wacky thing out there with it.
Okay, fair enough.
At the worst, you could pay 1 and go get one drop. Seems not great.
Seems really bad.
Yeah.
So that's green. Green feels like the other colors do, which is to say,
Bad.
unexciting. Like I don't want to just be like down on this. Like we're gonna go still play standard. I'm excited for standard still, but this set is underwhelming. Like this is a good example of
Low impact. We'll say low impact.
Well, this is also just in general a good example of like how Wizards gets punished for making bad decisions. So they go back on their the decision not to like go with a new rotation. So not only does this set seem like lackluster, but it's lackluster also because it's compared to 2 blocks it shouldn't be with. So it just like it gets compounded for them. But what are you gonna do?
Green does get Ramunap Excavator, which I think is a pretty exciting card, and I think will be both playable and modern and like a casual favorite.
That's probably true. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably true. All right, let's go to gold then. So, Dave, you get the first one, but I think we're going to try and talk about them together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the first 3.
Yeah.
So we have the Locust God, the Scorpion God, and the Scarab God.
You said them out of order. I hate you.
I don't care.
Scarab, SCA comes before SCO, but whatever. It's cool.
I wasn't even looking, dude. I was going off the top. I was going off the dome on that one. So these are all interesting, I'll say. Don't know if they're good enough. I guess we'll start with the Locust God. Locust God is 4 blue-red for a legendary creature god. It's a 4/4 flying. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. It also has an activated ability of 2 blue-red, draw a card, then discard a card, so you loot. And also, when it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step.
And all 3 of them have that. So they don't have indestructible, but they sort of rematerialize is like how it's set up. So they all have that clause.
Correct.
This one, starting here, this one seems okay. 6 mana for a 4/4 is pretty rough, though, especially when it's going to be fighting the Torrential Gearhulk for space in decks that would play it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, in a vacuum, yeah, it's a cool card, but you have to look at these cards, especially if you're looking at standard. It's all contextual. It's like, what is this going to be fighting with? And Torrential Gearhulk, I think, is miles better than this card.
This card is definitely better at just killing your opponent compared to Torrential Gearhulk. If you could untap with this card, especially in the kind of blue deck that would want it, something like Pull from Tomorrow becomes a win condition. If you have other ways to draw cards, the idea of like the flavor of this card being able to unleash a horde of these locusts is real, and I could see that. But I think this card just dies to too many things. And yes, it's like, oh, they can get it back, but the control deck can't just spend every turn on its main phase tapping out in 6. Like Gearhulk is an instant that also gets to counter a spell if it wants to most of the time, and I think it's just hard pressed to find space for it.
Yep.
I'll go with the next one here. The Scarab God is 3 generic blue-black for a legendary creature god. It's a 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Also has an activated ability, 2 generic blue-black. Exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie, and it has the God Clause. This one does feel a lot closer to me. I don't think it's hard to build a zombie deck that wants to end in this. We saw Jason Gerolf see play not that long ago, top eight whatever event Steve Rubin played it in his deck. So, and this card I think is definitely better than that card. Because you can set up a board state where untapping with this card before it does anything else is very, very bad for your opponent. The losing X and the scrying X. And its activated ability is pretty powerful. Now, this is the one that's sort of hilarious because it's eternalizing, but it actually isn't, because eternalizing literally makes a token that has no CMC, but this does make a token that has CMC, so don't forget about that. But I think this card's pretty powerful. I think the mana difference for this one and the Scorpion God compared to the 6 mana for the Locust God makes it, I think, much more appealing in general. Whether that makes it good enough, I don't know, but that is a big point of contention for myself.
Yep. All right, and the Morgan, do you want to take the last one, or
The Scorpion God?
yeah,
Scorpion God
Scorpion
is
King?
He's not a king of anything.
It's not the Rock.
He is not the Rock. I do not want to smell what this man is cooking, what this thing is cooking.
Stands alone inside.
So we got it's the first god we saw. So it's 3 generic black red for a 6/5 legendary creature god. It says whenever a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, draw a card, and it says 1 has an activated ability of generic black red. And it says put a neg 1 counter on another target creature, and then it has the God clause for these for Bolus's gods. So when it dies, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Meh. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that the blue red and the black red gods kind of work together, right? Because whenever you draw a card, so like when something dies with a -1 counter, you draw a card. When you draw a card, you make a 1/1. But then the blue black god doesn't actually interact with him.
Yeah, it doesn't like do it. It's
So
like, yeah, whatever.
It's like they had a good idea and then stopped it before the end. But I don't like. I mean, 5 mana 6/5 is good, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like this card reminds me of Spirit Monger.
It's not.
It's not.
It's definitely not. But I'm not really impressed with any of the gods, in my opinion. They're not cards that really interest me at all whatsoever. So I'm kind of over it.
I get it. You're a hater. No, I
am a hater for this set.
I think that they're interesting. I think the Scarab and the Scorpion God are much closer. Just based on mana, and I think the Scorpion God is deceptively powerful.
Yeah, I think that one's good. I definitely kind of dismissed it at first, and then the more I thought about it, the better I think it is. Like, it has the lowest activated ability.
Yeah, it's an easy one to do twice in a turn since you get your 6 land drop essentially after you cast this, and it makes combat nearly impossible. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know what kind of deck like tops out like that and does that. I don't know what that looks like, but it seems powerful.
There have been, black-red control decks with things like, what's the card? The 4 mana, the 5 mana 4/4 that you get to play a card from every.
Goblin Dark Dwellers.
Yeah. There've been decks like that.
Sure.
That could use something like this, though. You could argue that Dark Dwellers is something that it's competing against currently.
It doesn't see any play currently.
Correct. Yeah.
So
Why does Hour of Devastation kill all the gods?
what do you mean?
It kills them.
Oh yeah,
They die. They return, but I hate it. Like a Bolus's big leg spell is like, my team, come back.
He doesn't care about his team.
I know.
Bantu is literally on his team, and he's like, die.
I understand. A catcher doesn't die though. Again, flavor fail.
A catcher, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You keep saying that. I'm like, a catcher does die.
Not the card.
Well, let's talk about the main man himself then. Main dragon man.
Main dragon god man.
Just a dragon god. Nicol Bolas, God Pharaoh. 4 generic blue, black, red. Crazy. Grixis colors. For a Planeswalker, Bolas starts with 7 loyalty. As +2, target opponent exiles cards from the top of his or her library until he or she exiles a non-land card. Until the turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. -1, each opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand. +1, they do it. -4, Nicol Bolas, God Pharaoh deals 7 damage to opponent or creature an opponent controls. -12, exile each non-land permanent your opponent controls. So this card's pretty powerful. It's not quite as powerful as the original Bolas, but you do shave a mana for this one. I do think its -4 is pretty powerful. It is pretty interesting that this can just come down and kind of just kill an opponent. If an opponent is sort of is just at a low life total for whatever reason, this just sort of does it. Which is interesting.
It's really Nicol Bolas, the steel chair for your opponent.
Nicol Bolas, the steel chair. I do think the more I keep thinking about this +2, I know you don't like him, Morgan, just because we've had a lot of random effects recently anyway.
I mean, you banned one and then you put in another, but I mean, this actually doesn't feel that great in all honesty.
But it also doesn't feel like Nicol Bolas, the man with the master plan, the guy who cultivated a plane for 6 years.
What you got going on over there?
Let's just see what the top of your library is. I don't know. It sounds cool. That is the least Nicol Bolas thing I've ever heard, actually. Unless the flavor is I knew what was there and that's why I'm using it. But of course, in game, that's not going to work that way. I'll cast Rampant Growth. Yeah, aha, that's exactly what I was going for. Yes. You'll see. I work in mysterious ways. I don't know. So I think that plus is really awkward. But the exiling 2 cards from his or hand, that's pretty real. And the -4 I said being able to do a lot here. I think it'll definitely see play. I'm interested in playing it, but I like casting Bolas's. It does make me sad that this probably isn't good enough. At least the way a card works, it probably isn't good enough to make dark intimations.
Oh no,
Worth anything. But
not. It doesn't like speed up the pluses or anything.
you can like
that.
-4 twice if you do it. So
Congratulations.
take that, opponents.
You can do a 14 to your opponent, which is
That's a lot, but
it's
like
a lot. Yeah. But like they have to be like doing nothing, I guess. So
but
you're
you
winning
can't
anyway.
even play enough. Like you can't even play enough Dark Intimations to get this to immediately ultimate, and that's really depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I think this will end up being a good power level for standard. It doesn't seem like super broken, but it is good enough to where like you may want to build a deck around this.
I do. I want
So-
to. I just want to like. I don't even like the set very much, but I do want to own these an Hour of Devastations just so I can play it in standard. I may have played some Grixis Control in the past.
Congratulations on wanting the most expensive card from this set.
Just didn't buy any of them. So
I mean, like I'm just saying.
I want versus like able.
All right. I guess next card we have is the other Planeswalker, Samut the Tested.
She failed the test. I hate to tell you this. Cut to the chase here. Failed the test.
2 red-green for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. She has a +1 ability of up to 1 target creature gains double strike until end of turn. -2, Samut the Tested deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 target creatures and or players. And -7 of search your library for up to 2 creature and or Planeswalker cards. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So we've said this on here before. We're not really high on this Planeswalker. It seems underpowered for what it does. I feel like I'm missing something with this one. Like maybe it's better than what we think it is, but
No, it's
Again,
it's not.
I could see like we look at that red green Pummeler deck they just put out there. I could see that deck playing this card, but I don't know. It's just Forked Bolt does not strike me as good in this standard.
Forked Bolt does not. But
Not minus-
if you have, I mean, if you curve this into Glorybringer, that seems like it should be good. Like, okay, you play this,
sweet, so you get to win more with your card. Like,
But the problem is you
that's-
put
that's
this card
fair.
in your deck as well. So
Yeah.
when you want to draw Glorybringer, you draw this, and you can't affect the board in a meaningful way. Like this is the kind of Planeswalker your opponent can just ignore the bulk of the time, and not in the kind of way where the ultimate is real. Don't get me wrong, but it's just there's a good chance you just die if you cast this
Yeah.
card.
like
Like,
you're not
I
getting.
did nothing.
You're not getting there anytime soon. If your opponent has any way of interacting with your Planeswalker, they either ignore it or like attack it before it's relevant. And like if you're going to play a Planeswalker that works well with the Glorybringer, you're probably just going to play Arlen Court at this point in time.
It's just very true. So I don't know. It makes me sad the fall from grace for red green. Like Dominated was so good.
Raid was good. Xenagos was good.
Xenagos is good. I would say Arlen Cord, like it's unfortunately never really saw its time in the sun. That low amount of planes, like loyalty was there, but that was cool at least.
Yeah. Yeah, this card's bad.
All right.
Card is just garbage. Second worst Planeswalker ever printed.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
Ever. That is my opinion of this card.
Really?
Yeah.
Morgan's just telling it how it is.
Yes.
All right. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. What's number 1?
No,
Tybalt.
Okay, I was
no.
making sure.
Yeah.
The second worst is that crappy Jace that nobody ever played.
Oh yeah, the Living Guild Pact.
He's pretty bad.
That card's
Horrible.
actively terrible.
Let me take a look at him and see.
Well, I'm going to move on. When you
Yes,
do that.
of course.
So
Very, very
we're going to
compelling.
move into Aftermath cards now. There are some interesting Aftermath cards in here. The first one we're going to talk about, though, is probably the best card in the set.
Farm?
Like the most important one. No, Claim to Fame. Claim to Fame. Claim is a black sorcery. One single black mana for a sorcery. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is Unearth. And then we have Fame. This is the Aftermath portion. Is a red and a generic for sorcery. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So you're thinking like, oh, most poor card in the set. Like, yeah, Grixis Death Shadow is the best card, best deck in Modern. And this targets Death Shadow, brings it back. Targets Snapcaster Mage and brings it back. Also gives haste to your creatures, which is an access that so far Death Shadow really hasn't been able to sort of attack on. So this card seems very powerful. We're going to pause for a second, though, because Morgan has found the Living Guild Pact.
So I'm going to say that Jace Living Guild Pack is probably better in EDH than Salmon. At the very least, like by ultimates.
What did Jace Living Guild Pack do?
His
Like
ultimate
Scry or
is
something.
his +1 is look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. -3, return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. -8, each player shuffle his or her hand and graveyard to his or her library. Then you draw 7 cards, so they don't draw 7 cards.
I mean, Samus Ultimate is on power level with
Yeah,
that. Especially
I don't
in
know.
EDH.
It's close.
Samus power is just like it's just tooth and nail. So
It is just tooth and nail. It's close. I'm gonna say it's close.
if there was a tooth and nail like worthy combo in Standard, then I could see like maybe you play Protect the Queen with Samus, and that's how Samus sees play.
You see, there was, and then they banned, they
Well, yeah,
banned
but
it.
there are others. Yeah, okay, all you need is one Panharmonicon, and then it's got to get Displacer and draft. I have a problem.
Yes.
I want you to know that I played against a guy in the Open who I had played in Atlanta at the Invitational, but played during the Standard Open. And he's like, "Oh man, we haven't played that well." And I played Bant Eldrazi against him. And when he realized what I was doing, he was like, "Didn't you play like the Panharmonicon combo in Atlanta?" I was like, "Yeah, I like to cast Drown or Hope, man. It's a problem." Because I don't know if you actually know how many decks I play with Drown or Hope in them. But it's a lot of
If only
decks.
you could jam Drakehaven into that deck too.
I gotta go to the office.
You'd be good to go. Yeah.
Just like so many decks.
Anyway,
All right.
But anyway,
It's a toss-up.
Back to Claim to Fame. Claim to Fame. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like Unearth was a good card and is still a good card. Fame, giving haste to something is good, and that's kind of feels to me like the perfect aftermath spell. Like it's a cool effect. It isn't like crazy powerful, but it's kind of nice to have it sit in your graveyard. Makes your top decks a little bit better.
Yeah, I will. I will agree that I think that it'll change the Grixis Shadow list a little bit in Modern. It is also notable that like if you mill your Fame to like a Thought Scour or something like that, it can still give you a little bit of value. But the only downside to it is if you don't have a creature to target, you can't do anything with it. It's like if you don't have a creature that is targetable by claim, then you can't actually cast it.
I actually really like Claim to Fame in the Junda Shadow list too, because you have more targets.
Yeah, you have Tarmogoyf in addition.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
Also, you typically play Liliana of the Veil, which you could discard your Claim to Fame, so you have another outlet to actually get rid of it. So
could do that, and then those lists are more likely to run Temur Battle Rage as well, so you can kind of hit them with like the haste
yeah,
Temur Battle Rage, out of nowhere.
I think this card will also have standard applications. Like it's pretty good against anything that's having a lot of target removal against your aggressive deck, and gives you a way to come out of nowhere against like a control deck or that's tapped out for a Wrath or something. So it's kind of nifty.
Okay. All right. Struggle to survive. Basically, just struggle. So this is a red and green aftermath card. The struggle half of it costs 2 and a red for an instant. Deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. And then survive is the green half. That's the aftermath part. It's 1 and a green sorcery. Each player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library.
Yeah, we talked a while about this one, but we felt like it was pretty close. Like it's a fine removal spell on at 3, and then like scales obviously, but also has the upside of being like graveyard hate, just randomly tacked onto a removal spell.
Yeah, I mean it's not nothing, but it may not come up in a majority of games. But yeah, I mean struggle itself is, I mean, if you look at it like a 3 mana 3 damage to a creature at worst, and then it could also be 3 mana kill a Gearhulk, whatever.
And I think most of them, this effect is also a sorcery, and this is being an instant is sort of interesting. This could be the kind of card that doesn't see any play, but having a main deckable removal spell that also like literally just has like, oh, and also sometimes you can just like shuffle your opponent's graveyard away tacked onto it is certainly fine.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Morgan?
that's all right.
All right, fair enough. Next one we have is Leave to Chance. This is a rare aftermath card. The Leave is generic and a white. For an instant, return any number of target permanents you own to your hand. And then the Aftermath card is Chance. Is 3 generic and a red for a sorcery. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards.
Oh, so chance is like when you're playing Cards Against Humanity and you're like, all these cards are garbage.
I'm going to discard this black card and cycle my hand. Dave was pretty high on this card. It says it's a combo enabler.
Yeah.
Teach me, Dave.
So this, if you're playing the Cheerios deck,
Yep.
which is you use SRAM, the Edificer or whatever that's called. You can use the leave part to return a bunch of zero cost equipment to your hand and then replay them with SRAM and draw more cards. You can also you can cycle out a bunch of chaff with Chance. It may also end up being something that Dredge might want as a way to, I don't know, dredge your whole deck. Possibly. I don't know. Probably not on that end, but definitely, if that standard SRAM deck is a thing, then it'll definitely be playing this card.
I mean, even like the one in Modern probably isn't gonna not consider this card to some degree.
I mean, it retracts went up to a lot of money, so like budget retract is fine, I guess.
Yeah, that was a hot deck for like a second, but yeah, I mean, this is something that basically you're probably not going to be playing this in any kind of fair way. like what they want you to do is like, oh yeah, you can draw some cards, return some things and draw some cards. Like, hey, you're not really doing anything that fair with this, I don't think.
No.
In reality.
No, Aetherflux Reservoir is kind of like looking at this like, hey.
Yeah. Something like that, where it's just going to be like, more copies of the paradoxical outcome.
Sure.
Yeah,
so.
Very much so. But I'm more on Dave's camp for this card. This card's trying to do broken things.
It probably is trying to do broken things. I just don't know if it's the best at doing those broken things.
I mean, sometimes it's just what you got.
Take these broken things. Try to combo again. All right. Last one on our Aftermath list, Dave.
Yep.
Did I not just do leave?
Oh, yeah. Grind to Dust. Man, we almost got through the whole thing. We almost did it. Grind to Dust. It's the
so
black-white one. So Grind is 1 and a black sorcery. It says put a -1/-1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. And Dust is 3 and a white sorcery for the Aftermath. Exile any number of target creatures that have -1/-1 counters on them. So I think this is an interesting card because I think the front half of this is actually pretty efficient at what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Putting 2 -1 counters for 2 mana is pretty nice. And late game, you have the option of exiling larger creatures. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be counters from this particular card. If you have other things that generate counters, you can exile their whole board potentially, depending on what it is. So.
Yeah, the appeal of setting up a one-sided Wrath is definitely pretty high. I do think that Grind is pretty as a card. For in Amonkhet Limited, you have what's the 3-mana version of this?
Splendid Agony.
Yeah, Splendid Agony. And it lets you put them wherever you want, including on the same creature. This doesn't. Like, you can only put 1 on a creature and 1 on up to another creature. So you can't even just kill a creature with 2 toughness. And that, I think, makes this a little more awkward.
This may end up being more of a sideboard card against these mythical aggro decks that we keep thinking of that probably aren't going to exist. But
now, playing this, I don't know if you're playing this, this Mardu color deck, but this and the Scorpion God's kind of sweet.
it just...
Pew, 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 exile.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me
of Vifner.
Okay,
Yeah.
There you go. I could see.
It kind of reminds me of Fire and Ice, where it's you could split up a fire and kill 2 creatures. But this is way more situational.
But fire could still kill a 2 toughness creature,
and could still go to the face.
Yeah,
and, yeah.
I think this is close. I don't know if there's enough cards. You said Archfiend is a good one to remember as a way to build your one-sided Wrath. But
oh man, you could even discard this card to something. Discard this to some effect. Put all -1/-1 counters and then just dust. Yeah. Don't even need to cast Grind.
All right. I think there's some other ones that are kind of close here. We didn't talk about Driven to Despair, but
I think that one's close.
I think that one's close. I'd say close, but it's still like, I don't know. It's an effect they try to do a lot. So I think their design space for the Aftermath cards got more interesting, in my opinion. So
I completely agree with that.
let's go to lands, right?
Artifact.
Artifacts.
Nope. Let's go to artifacts. I tried really hard to get out of it. All right. Well, next up then we have is Abandoned Sarcophagus. This is 3 generic for an artifact. You may cast non-land cards with cycling from your graveyard. If a card with cycling would be put into your graveyard from anywhere and it wasn't cycled, exile it instead. So essentially, if you do cast the card from your graveyard, it doesn't get to go back. This card feels powerful. It feels really close to busted to me, but at the same time, what you're getting out of it, you better have the time to do it. That's the thing that this card demands. Like, you're going to pay 3 mana for it to put this into play. Your deck's obviously going to be designed around it. Will you be able to buy the time to make this worthwhile? If so, go to town. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of card that obviously requires some setup, whether that's like milling your deck before casting this, or just like manually cycling a bunch of cards, which seems really slow. But yeah, I mean, the effect is powerful. This reminds me a lot of, was it Yawgmoth's Agenda, which lets you cast cards out of your graveyard?
Yes.
That one, it was a different type of card, but it's I guess similar in some ways. But I don't know. I mean, obviously having the restriction of only being able to cast cards with cycling is going to hurt it somewhat, but yeah, I don't know what exactly you'd want to be casting, but
Nimble Obstructionist. You cycled it to counter a thing, and then you want to flash you want to flash it in too. It's kind of sweet. Is it good enough to do this? No, it's not. This guy said, when this card's very good, you're going to feel miserable because your opponent's doing all the sweet things and you're doing nothing. But I think your opponent has to be doing nothing for you to be doing all the sweet things.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Crook of Condemnation. This is a 2 mana artifact. Has a couple activated abilities. So you have 1 tap, exile target card from a graveyard. It also has 1 in exile all cards from all graveyards. So this is kind of like a worse Relic of Progenitus, since it costs a little extra and costs mana to activate. But actually better in some ways because you can target any card. So yeah, you have to pay a mana for the first ability there, but you get to pick and choose, what it is that you're actually exiling.
Yeah,
so.
the not drawing a card is the biggest, I think, offender about this.
Right.
And probably will force it to, in addition to the 2 mana, just not see play in, because you have to pay 1 to do the first ability and then 1 to exile it too. So it's pretty mana intensive.
Definitely a little pricey for modern, but for standard this is
great.
kind of this is the kind of card that we've been needing, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, just it's fine to let us have these. It's okay, because you know what? This is still a clunky card to put into your deck or into your sideboard. You're not excited to cast this card, but you do it when you need to.
Right.
So it's okay to give us answers, even if they're not the most efficient things.
Just the fact that it exists is nice.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll never have to use this, but it's a nice little safety valve, which is, I think they finally understood with this set, and I'm sure they probably jammed some cards in that maybe weren't supposed to be in the set at first. There's a lot of hate cards in this set, just in
that's
general.
fine. I mean, Nicol Bolas is straight hate, so.
Yeah.
I straight hate this set, so it makes sense.
Aww. Got that hater in your
is it
blood.
like STR the number 8?
Oh yeah.
H the number 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we have God Pharaoh's Gift, which finally is the answer to our A Gate to the Afterlife card. 7 generic for an artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie, it gains haste inside the turn. Now, normally after that clause, you would be expecting to hear the sacrifice at the end of turn, or
exile. Yeah.
You get to keep it. I think this card is pretty close. At 7 mana, it's a little tough, but the already mentioned Gate to the Afterlife does search for it and put it into play. And it requires you to have 6 creatures in your graveyard, but we do have cycling, and a lot of 1 mana cyclers. So I could see a deck that is trying to I could or could not play Drake Haven. I don't know. But I do think like there's a setup for that card to be good. Even if you're not playing the Gate to the Afterlife card, I try to think of like cards that get when you have like big mid-range slogs in Standard. Like thinking of like when we had Abzan and we had was it
Doom Blast.
Doom Blast, right? Which is like this huge, expensive, but it was a mirror breaker, right? This card feels a lot like that, where you'd bring like one of these in, and if you like cast it and resolved it, your opponent is not going to win that game. All of the things that they slowly worked through the whole game, all of a sudden they're just coming back. So many Zombified Glory Bringers, so many of them.
Yeah,
so,
and you get the effect immediately. Like
right.
You cast this on your first main phase, and then boom,
that is a big
happens.
deal too. You don't have to wait. So.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. Like, that's a big deal, and like you said, the fact that you get to keep the token is a big deal. So, yeah, I feel like this is definitely powerful enough to warrant the 7 mana. Like, we would actually want to play this card, but you probably don't want too many, since like having the second one is going to be much worse than the first. So, but
it's not that much worse.
You'll probably start running out of creatures.
You're right, but I mean, like, it's not that much worse. It's not like you only get one guy still. It does stack, so you can get a lot of gifts.
Yeah,
Godfair, you shouldn't have 2 of them.
All right, next card is a sweet one. It's a hollow one, right?
Yep. Yeah. Starring Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, it's Hollow Man.
Hollow Man. All right, hollow one. It's cost 5, but not really. It's a 4/4 artifact creature golem. Hollow one costs 2 less to cast for each card you cycled or discarded this turn, and it also has cycling for 2. So, yeah, this is a card that's never going to be cast for 5 mana, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
And probably... Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to put this in any deck, yeah, that's not what you're trying to do. If you have the cast this for 5 mana, you're probably just cycling it.
I would expect the majority of the time this is going to be cast for 1 mana.
Yes.
And the fact that it's cycle or discarded, we've seen a lot of cards just in this block with that kind of templating. And, the fact that you can cast something like a Faithless Looting and then cast this for 1 mana the same turn. We have in Standard, let's see, what do we have? We have, I guess that blue creature that I keep trying to pump up as being good.
I mean, yeah, because our reunion,
you
have all of the scobs and the Haunted Dead that make you discard cards. You have Tormenting Voice, Collective Brutality.
Yeah.
There are a large swath of cards in Standard that currently allow you to discard cards amongst all the other cycling cards. So, you could definitely power this guy out and gain a lot of value doing so.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is definitely a very cool card. It'd be interesting to see if it's worth it to play the enablers that would be necessary to make this card good.
I mean,
but I don't think it takes a lot.
There's a deck in Standard that can actually do this, and it's Blue-Red Emerge. I mean, it's not a very popular deck at this point in time, but it's a card that plays the enablers to allow you to do this, and also gets. This card, making your Elder Deep Fiends cost super cheap, is pretty hot.
Yeah, I think the fact that you can make it be free also. If you're able to discard 3 cards, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it has potential. Pretty good with Drakehaven.
Obviously.
Yes, you can cycle it.
I'm not going to stop.
I know. We all know.
Last artifact is Mirage Mirror. Is this Neheb on this card? Seeing himself become...
Sure.
All right, cool. So 3 generic for an artifact. Has an activate ability, 2 generic. Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. And we talked about this card a little bit before. It's unique in this sense that it doesn't retain this ability, which most of those things do. Yes. It just becomes this, and then at the end of the turn, it stops becoming this. So
also, it stops being if you turn it into a creature or an enchantment, it stops being or land. It stops being an artifact.
Yeah, it's just it is a weird permanent.
Yes.
It also has some functionality with some cards we mentioned before, like with Solemnity. It works with Dark Depths. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Apparently, Dark Depths just going to combo in with everything.
Everything.
But this card is kind of cool. Like being able to become a creature for a turn and then go back lets you do some cool things. I feel like all I've said is Dark Depths and Glorybringer this whole time, but like if your opponent exerted a Glorybringer and then this becomes a Glorybringer, you get to do the exert thing, and then like, nope, I'm not that anymore.
I stopped being that. It turns out.
So that's weird. So,
But it'd still be exerted,
it'll
right?
still be exerted, but it
weird.
doesn't mean you can't make it a copy of something else the next turn that isn't a creature. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but it also means it also means that it can't be like targeted by like your opponent's sorcery removal. It's like, oh, that's weird. Nope, not this turn. John Cena over here
Can't see me.
Got that Mirage Mirror. I doubt this card sees play, to be quite
no.
honest. But it's a cool effect.
It is a cool effect.
All right, Lance, we're almost done.
All
What
lands. So we have a cycle of deserts that cycle.
What flavor?
What?
Oh, you said deserts.
Yeah.
I was hoping for desserts.
So yeah, they come into, they're all common. They come into play tapped, and they either cycle for one in a color, so one in a red, one in a whatever, or they tap for that. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's one for each god.
I don't see these seeing a lot of standard play. It's really sad that they're not as good as the original colored cycling lands. But in the set, there's a lot of deserts in the graveyard. Like, if there's a desert in play or in the graveyard, do this.
Yes.
And these
enable that.
enable that.
Yeah, and that's about it.
Yep.
You also have the weird like tricolor land for the Grixis land, which
Yeah.
is pretty
So,
weird.
We already mentioned that like Unknown Shores is already like in the format, which is actively better than this
It's
card.
just Unknown Shores, but it gains a life.
Yes,
But it can't.
No,
add,
it's
like,
not Unknown
green or-
Shores. It's worse than Unknown Shores.
Well, yeah, as far as mana, yeah, but
But it does trigger your your Horse Lord.
ooh,
Oh snap!
Just say it. It
turn
does.
5, play this, bam, gain a life.
Oh snap!
Slam that horse.
You got me
down.
there.
To be fair, I never say the term "slam that Horse Lord" ever again. I know that he can be your moon and your stars, but just like Khal Drogo or etc. Next up is
Well, there's also another cycle of deserts that are painlands, but
Yeah,
they are
but the-
monocolored painlands.
yeah, but the first one. Okay, that's fine.
I understand. We're just talking about the two cycles because we can knock
Okay,
them out pretty
whatever.
quick.
But it's not in alphabetical order. It's fine.
It is okay.
Okay, whatever.
The world doesn't have to be in alphabetical order, man.
No, actually, most things do. That's actually a ridiculous statement.
but not everything.
Most things.
But
Things that
not
are important.
everything.
Most things that are important. Almost everything that's important.
I don't know. Why are you making this argument?
Because like you said, a ridiculous thing.
It's not ridiculous. I'm saying that not everything has to be in alphabetical order, man.
Well, the next time they can't find your paperwork because you told them you didn't care if they filed it in order, you can say, "Oh, it wasn't important then." I don't know.
Why are you being so why are you being this
It's
way?
12:30.
Because it's- all right, I
It's
understand.
12:30, and you
Okay.
skipped the card I was going to talk about.
So there are a cycle of deserts that are painlands. They make colorless or they make a color. These are only relevant, and they also have like an effect. The effects, all of them suck, in my opinion. They're all kind of meh.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, they're all kind of meh.
but like
You're playing these because they work well with the Eldrazi's.
Yeah, for example, Ramonep Ruins, which is the red one, so it taps to add a colorless, or you can tap, pay 1 life to add a red. And then it also has 2 red, tap, sacrifice a desert, doesn't necessarily have to be this one. Ramonep Ruin deals 2 damage to each opponent. So, if you're playing an Eldrazi deck, it's kind of like a dual land.
Yes.
That also has some utility late game.
Right.
I think it's fine.
And yeah, that's why they're relevant.
The red one is probably the best one.
Probably.
Blue one's real bad. Mills
Yeah.
4.
I have no
Yeah.
intention of ranking these. I just want the world to know they exist, and that's why they are important, because they're Eldrazi dual lands.
Okay.
All right, now we can talk
Thanks for
about
a
your
couple
land.
months.
I hate you. Endless Sands, which comes alphabetically before #up Oasis. This is a land desert. Taps add colors to your mana pool.
Brightest picture.
Yeah, it's
of
super
all
bright.
time.
2 generic, tap, exile target creature you control. 4 generic, sacrifice, tap and sacrifice it. Return each creature card exiled and the sands to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this sort of has like a Hell Vault feel to it, like a one-sided Hell Vault. There's another card that was like this, another land I think that was like this.
Yeah.
Safe Haven.
Yeah. This is kind of cool because as a utility land, it can your creature's going to bite it to removal. Well, now it's exile it instead, and it may be irrelevant to that game. It may never come up, or it may be the kind of thing where you just like got a guy or two off of this, and then you get to put those creatures back into play. And like you mentioned Eldrazi already, because of those deserts, like these kind of utility lands are always interesting because there's a lot of options right now, and it's kind of nifty. So I can see this card being pretty good though. Like just like find it, just like being like, well, you're going to kill this anyways. I have this mana, let's do it, and then sort of blowing your opponent out later as they look at the land and go, they're going to get a lot of creatures back. I don't want it. So there you go.
Were you going to talk about scavenger grounds, or is that it?
Hostile Desert.
Hostile desert. What?
Hostile Desert, the
Oh,
desert
yeah.
manland.
Oh yeah.
Hostile Desert. It's a desert that like cuts Achilles tendons for fun.
No, it's not. It's not that kind of movie.
All right.
It's not that. It's not that kind of desert.
Hostile desert. It's a land desert. Taps to add a colorless, and it also has 2 exile a land card from your graveyard. Hostile desert becomes a 3/4 elemental creature until end of turn. It's still land. So I think this card is playable. I don't know how good it is. I don't know how many you'd want to play in your deck. But having a creature land, especially one of that size for only 2 mana activation, is pretty decent. Now,
especially since the man lands from Zendikar are going to rotate pretty soon too.
right. Now, it may be difficult to kind of continuously feed this, but I think a lot of times just like being able to threaten activating this is, it's going to give you some amount of value.
It's enough to make them like not attack with like a small creature here or there.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's a good like it may not be easy to activate, but again, the 3/4 is enough to be interesting.
Yeah. Obviously, if you compare this to Mutavault or something like that, it's going to be way worse.
Right.
But this is what we have.
I will quickly mention before we're done Scavenger Grounds then because we didn't add that one, but that is a land desert. It also adds generic to mana pool, or adds a colorless, to the mana pool. But it also has the ability tap to sacrifice a desert, exile all cards from all graveyards. So just another land that can interact with the graveyard. It's pretty sweet actually. So I can see something like Legacy Lands wanting this card too. So
Possibly. But like they also use like Light from the Loam or whatever. So
right, so you mean like you can sack this to exile and then it's all cards from all graveyards.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking targeted. It's late, so maybe they don't want it then.
see, this is why we don't talk about Legacy.
But that's it.
Yeah, I just blanking. So yeah, that's it. We did it.
We did it.
Set sucks.
So can I point out just a little bit of hypocrisy is that we always do the entire set in alphabetical order, but then Morgan's like, oh, why is that important? So I just want to say it.
No one cares.
That's a lie.
Other than you.
But you didn't say that.
Other than you.
Well, then why did we do this in alphabetical order in the first place? Because
That wasn't even on our spreadsheet. I did it out of step because it wasn't on our spreadsheet. I don't want to forget about it.
okay.
And it wasn't that relevant.
Well, yeah, but you made it bad.
No one cares.
Made it bad.
This set is bad, and I didn't make it bad.
I'll give you that. You did
That's-
not make this set bad.
That's where we're at. At least that's where I'm at personally.
I hope that you're excited about the set, but I can't assume that you're a constructed player who's super excited about the set. Maybe you got a card. I highly doubt you got a strategy. Maybe Grixis Control comes out of this because you want to cast Nicol Bolas and play Hour of Devastation. Maybe. But Grixis Control already exists. I literally played against it twice in the Standard Classic. So,
It's true.
Ken and Haas was playing it. So, I'm just saying, like, it already exists. The basic shell of the deck already exists and is being played. You're just going to add a few cards in Nicol Bolas.
Yeah,
So-
I think for standard, I think it's not going to change too much from what we've seen, at least with this most recent standard format here. So
Hey, give that Gate to the Afterlife deck a chance.
I think that this set is on its face value does not inspire me at all whatsoever, and I just don't care. Like none of the cards are exciting. like to me at all whatsoever.
I mean, it will have a small impact on modern. I mean, you have Claim to Fame, which I think will make a difference.
You have
in the modern format.
The excavator, right? Ramen up excavator.
Yeah, and that and Liliana's defeat, I think, could potentially see some modern play. So, I mean, it's not like it's not going to do anything. I mean, I think the impact is going to be a lot smaller than what we've seen recently, but
somewhat ironic for a set that's about the Armageddon.
yeah.
So, you really won't notice its impact.
No,
the
not at
people
all.
of Amonkhet are going to notice.
Like Hour of Devastation, like is like the card in like. Why were there so many cards that were printed that just like destroy all creatures to all the bunch of the I'm not saying all of them are good obviously, but I don't know, it just is for a person that likes playing aggressive decks, it's very disheartening, and I don't feel like aggressive decks really got a lot.
I would definitely agree with that. I don't think they got really anything.
Yeah, so it's like cool, figure that out. So I think if you are an aggressive player, like I don't know what you're really doing in this format.
Well, again, you're probably still continuing to play zombies in the monument deck because they recover well.
I guess, but that I mean, like, I guess it just is unexciting to me.
I don't disagree.
Because I really don't feel like those kind of decks, like even though they recover well, like you're already going to be fighting an uphill battle. So, meh.
All right.
Maybe one day aggressive decks will be good again.
One day your prince will come.
One day. But that is another Palooza in the books. And I'm ready to hit the hay. But before we wrap up, I do want to give a shout out to all the pre-releases that are happening this weekend. So if you do decide that you want to go out and play this garbage set,
Wow.
there are plenty of ways you can do it. I don't know.
Maybe keep it positive, Morgan.
Maybe the limited format is fine.
The limited format probably is
limited
fine.
format seems great.
So you could still have fun doing that at various pre-releases, and of course, if you're local, please go to Comic Town to attend their pre-releases because they are fantastic. And again, you can check out Comic Town's website of world@comictown.com or their Facebook page, Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook, and check out when their pre-release events are going to be and how much they will cost and all the things that you will need to know.
If for some reason you haven't, like, I know some people only pre-release and they don't really. They billed last time as the last pre-release in that current location. They have not moved yet.
Correct.
That they got pushed back on that. They move later this month. So
Yes.
it's still at Morse.
Still at Morse, the Morse Road location in Columbus, Ohio. But that is pretty much the only thing that's happening over the weekend. So keep that in mind. But we of course appreciate you listening every week. If you downloaded us via iTunes, please feel free to leave us a review. If you got us via MTG Cast, feel free to check out some of the other shows that exist on that website. There are plenty of things for everyone to enjoy. If you feel like getting in contact with us, you can reach out to us on Twitter. It's YourEndStep. When you add us, it's at YourEndStep. We also have an email address. It's at YourEndStep@gmail.com or Facebook. Just do a quick search for at YourEndStep on there. But that is pretty much everything for this week. Again, thank you so much to all of our Patreon supporters out there. If you do want to reach out and support what we do week in and week out, you can do so via our Patreon page, and it's just www.patreon.com/@YourEndStep. And one final shout out to our sponsors, BCW Supplies and Comic Town. But that's everything for this week. You have a great one. Bye.